Good evening to my friends here on Hyrule Academy every single Friday night at 10 p.m. US Eastern Time. I am your host, Super MC Gamer. I hope that everyone here is fantastic because today we have a very exciting show on board for you guys. We're going to be talking all about Zora royalty, Zoya Royale. So I hope you're really excited to talk about that. I have lots of people steaming with conversation already inside the Radio Hyrule chat room, and I'm ready to get some discussions going with them here in just a few moments. But first, before we get into that, I think it's only fitting for those of you guys who may be new with us here at the Academy to give you guys a little bit of a rundown about how this show works. Of course, this show does happen every Friday at 10 p.m., like I said. And what's really cool about this show is we talk all about Zelda lore, fan theories, and any other such miscellaneous topics that happen intervene themselves into Zoya Royale. So, so to speak, I would say. I'm having a great time tonight. I'm really excited to talk with you guys tonight. We also play some fantastic music. First up, you did hear Quiescent Symphony by Theophany. I don't know if that's exact pronunciation on any of those words, as I can obviously represent to you all tonight. I am not steaming with great pronunciations, but I do know a lot about Zelda, and I hope that's enough for you, because that's enough for me in my daily life. So first, let's talk a little bit about the Zora royalty. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, in case you guys are new to the Zelda universe. So, in the world of Zelda, there are this race of people called the Zoras. The Zoras are a wonderful set of people. They have gills and flippers, and they swim. They're fish. They're fish people, and they're fantastic people. The Zora people actually date all the way back chronologically to Ocarina of Time, and in that game they had a single king, King Zora Debon the 16th, and that is a canonical name actually given in Hyrule Historia. In case you're unfamiliar with that might be already something you've learned tonight. See? Who says I'm not a teacher, not just a guy talking into a microphone? I know stuff. In addition, he had a daughter in that game by the name of Princess Ruto. Princess Ruto had a wonderful role inside the game. Not only did she give you the Zora's Sapphire, the spiritual stone of water, but later inside the game, she became very important as one of the 7 sages who helped seal Ganon away, also known as sometimes not be awakened at all. But timelines are weird. We won't talk about that. Actually, we will. In the child timeline, we actually had more Zora royalty, my friends. We had a queen, Queen Rutella, and she had a son, Prince Rawlus. Now, Queen Rutella is commonly believed, and I believe it's canonical, that she is the wife of the King Zora Debon the 16th, which we saw inside Ocarina of Time. Does that mean that Prince Rawlus is her son? We'll talk about that tonight. Also, there was a King of Zoras found in Oracle of Ages and a Link to the Past. They both looked very different. The one from King of Zoras looked like the King Zora Debon the 16th from Ocarina of Time, while in A Link to the Past, he looked like a more traditional Zora from the original Legend of Zelda game. In addition, there was also a Queen of Zoras found inside A Link Between Worlds, in case you have checked out that game, which came out last year. Now, everyone at home, this is the part where I'm going to start cueing you guys on some of the discussions. This is where I want you guys in the chat over at radiohyrule.com/chatroom to start buzzing with words and thoughts. Help me make sense. If you can expand on this, this is just kind of a basis to go off of. A few questions. The King Zora in A Link to the Past and Oracle of Ages. Is he the same King Zora? Is he King Zora Debon the 16th? Why or why not? Give me some ideas, theories, and any proof you might be able to try to pull up out of the games. In addition, what is Prince Rawlus' relation to Princess Ruto, and more importantly, to King Zora Debon the 16th? And the last question for you people tonight is, where were the Zora people and their royalty in Skyward Sword and Minish Cap? It's the Minish Cap, as it were. It's very important that I'm tying it into the royalty, and I hope you guys can see where I'm going with this. So go ahead and buzz around inside the discussion comments, and I'll be keeping an eye on the chat room here during our next music block. I have tons of great music for you tonight. Wonderful songs, and a couple of them were requests from you guys at home. So keep it tuned on in to Hyrule Academy. And welcome back to Hyrule Academy, everyone. Everybody in the chat is having a great time. I can see it. We have lots of discussions going on about the Zora royalty that is all over the Zelda universe. A lot of discussions are happening about if King Zora is the same in every game, and there's a lot of conclusions being made, but I'll talk about those in just a little bit. Continue your discussions inside the chat. But for right now, I want to kind of take a step back and talk about one of my own personal fan theories. But before I get into that, I'm sure you guys want to know what music you were just listening to. First up, there was the Legend of Zelda piano medley, and that was by Kyle Landry and Frank Tedesco. A wonderful arrangement of a bunch of different Zelda songs. A lot of them are very well known. You don't see many medleys out there that can do a lot of songs that you don't hear normally inside Zelda games. There's a lot of songs in the Zelda universe, and I think that a lot of them are unloved. There's not a lot of Linebeck theme out there. Linebeck theme is a very universally loved song, but there's not much remix work of it out there. And it's that type of song that really makes me wish that the YouTube remixing community could really get on that. But anyway, that request was from To Be Remembered 316. Thank you on Twitter for that suggestion. Afterwards, we did hear the Palace theme by Mission Guitar. Now, Mission Guitar made that wonderful arrangement. It's a very true to the song type of arrangement, but there's a personal flair on it that I haven't heard in a lot of Palace rock cover themes that I just had to feature. And that artist, Mission Guitar, only has 326 subscribers as of today. I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. 327, because I myself gave a subscription, and I do recommend you all as well. That's Mission Guitar, and that request was by HG Shirtugal. Thank you very much for your suggestion. It was a very wonderful song, and I'm sure everybody at home really enjoyed it. Now for one of my personal fan theories. So while we're talking about like Zora royalty, I'm going to kind of go off topic a little bit tonight, and I hope you guys can forgive me because keep discussing the topic at hand. But I want to give you guys one of my personal fan theories, see what you guys think of it. So as we know, there's in A Link Between Worlds, Oren, the Queen of the Zoras, and spoiler warning in case you haven't finished that game, fair warning, she ends up becoming one of the 7 sages. And what's very interesting is this is inside the Decline timeline, and it's very universally accepted that it's very possible that she is a descendant of Princess Ruto, the Sage of Water. So that's one of the things in that timeline that I really love, is that Oren could actually be the Sage of Water. And what's interesting is the other 7 sages also are very comparable to their ancestors. For example, Gully wears traditional garb that looks very much like Kokiri wear, and so he's commonly accepted as the Sage of Forest. Rosso is the Sage of Fire because he works inside the mountains with rocks. He's very similar to a Goron, even if he is not a Goron himself. Impa, of course, would reprise her role as the Sage of Shadow because her line of the Sheikah people has been passed down, so it's only fitting that she would keep that. Now, the 2 that are hardest to place are Osfala. He's commonly believed to be the Sage of Light. We see him in a very dominant hero role inside the game A Link Between Worlds, and he is a prime example of a Hylian that could definitely descend from Rauru. And then there's Irene. Irene's the hardest one of the 7 sages to place, because she's not a Gerudo. How could she descend from Nabooru, the Sage of Spirit? And a lot of people want to try to find conclusions to match that. And the biggest, strongest thing is her love of magic and her being a witch. Very similar to some of the Gerudo people, including Twin Rova, who ended up becoming witches and magic lovers. So that is the strongest conclusion we can make to connect that together. But you must be saying, there's one more 7 sage. And that's Ceres. And that's where things get a bit interesting. Because Ceres is only comparable, like there's no more sages left except for Princess Zelda herself. And of course, Princess Zelda is her own line. So shouldn't the 7 sages inside A Link Between Worlds, one of them be Zelda? And that's where I think things are harder to place, and why this theory kind of sometimes falls apart in everybody's head. The only way I can really make a good conclusion about it is that Ceres is the daughter, I believe the daughter of a priest. and she is definitely a worshiper of the Triforce. So perhaps as like the lead sage, that is her position. She is the daughter of a priest of the Triforce. That's a very powerful, sacred position. So I think that's a very, very intriguing theory that I personally subscribe to. It's a hard one to nail down, but that's why I think some theories are the best, is when you have a theory that's good, but you can't just say, yes, this is how it is. You kind of just have to defend it with your own thoughts, you know? So, anyways, if you want to, inside the chat room, go ahead and keep discussing Zora royalty. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. Very soon we will be taking some of your comments, and I'll be reading them here on air. And a reminder to go to radiohyrule.com/chatroom if you're listening in live. If you're listening to the YouTube or Radio Hyrule recording later on, I'm sorry that you can't participate into the chat right now, but a reminder, come here live every Friday at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time at radiohyrule.com, and you can join in our discussion then. Sound good? Anyways, this has been Hyrule Academy. Got some more music coming up for you, and then we'll talk about your discussions. Welcome back to Hyrule Academy, everybody, on this wonderful Friday evening. We have a lot of discussions happening that I want to cover tonight, and I want to make sure we get a chance to get to some of the best highlights of that very soon. But first, I'm sure you all want to know what you've just been listening to. Those two excellent Zelda pieces of music. Zelda pieces of music. Really well said, MC. Thank you, MC. You are very welcome. All right, let's get right on into covering those songs. First up was Rallis, Prince of the Zoras, and that was by the wonderful Twilight Symphony. And while I already had this inside my playlist for this evening, shout outs to our good friend Captain Trina for reminding me to make sure that was inside of the playlist tonight. Because how could we go a show about Zora royalty without a song dedicated to Rallis from the wonderful Twilight Symphony, a wonderful project that I encourage each and every one of you to research over on YouTube and the internet in general. After that, we heard a wonderful arrangement of Song of Storms, and that was by Nick-a-ma-jig. And now that person, I hope you all heard that, because that was a wonderful, wonderful cover/remix. I was really blown away by it. And that person only has 126 subscribers. Can you believe that? That somebody can have that much talent and make something so good and only have 126 subscribers. Much encouragement to go over to his channel and give him some support. He's only made one remix. It was only that one. But if we go in there as the Radio Hyrule community and say, hey, we really like your stuff. We'd love for you to continue making music. Hopefully he'll be inspired to make some more. And that was requested by Super Zelda Girl, who wanted to hear some Song of Storms tonight. And so I hope that satisfies your Song of Storms urge. So let's get into talking about some Zora royalty, my friends. So first up, I want to kind of touch on Queen Rutella, because there was a lot of discussions about Queen Rutella being the wife of King Zora Daban the 16th. However, Captain Trina comes in and tells me straight up, Queen Rutella is the wife of a King Zora, not the King Zora Daban the 16th. And I questioned that. I was like, well, how do you know? And she brings up the subject of lifespan. And she says, a quote from Hyrule Historia, the peace that had reigned in the Light World for hundreds of years was broken by Zaunt's army of Shadow Beasts, saying this is kind of describing how Twilight Princess started. So after hundreds of years, following some peaceful times, which does include parts of Ocarina of Time, that's when Twilight Princess began. So I said, well, what is stopping the Zoras from living hundreds of years? How do you know Zoras don't have 1,000-year lifespans like elves do in some literature? And the Yositaru comes in and says, well, our only real understanding of Zora biology comes mostly from Majora's Mask, Lulu's eggs, and the hatched tadpole-looking babies. And Fatums also expanded on this and says, well, Zoras at least seem to age as quickly as Hylians, as seen in Rudo after the time skip in Ocarina of Time. When you go forward in time, 7 years in Ocarina of Time, it appears that Princess Rudo also ages 7 years, much like Link. And I think that piece of knowledge is enough for me to say, it's very likely that King Zora and every Zora has a very similar lifespan as Hylians. I wanted to defend this further, but that piece of evidence is pretty overwhelming. And while the theory can still stand if you really wanted to and you want to say that Zoras live hundreds of years, I'm personally backing down from this theory. In addition, the one thing that's difficult to support is Prince Rawlus is the huge thing that kind of breaks the theory down. Because Prince Rawlus, if he was also the son of King Zora Daban, the 16th, that would mean that Princess Ruto and Prince Rawlus would have to be probably similar in age. However, they're not, because Prince Rawlus appears to be around the same age as Princess Ruto, maybe a few years older than when Link was a child. So it's very, very difficult to support that, unfortunately. The only other possible explanation is that Prince Rawlus was a half-brother, and that the Queen Zora, following King Zora's Daban's death, that she possibly had Prince Rawlus with another Zora. But that is a hard to support theory. It gets very icky and very mushy and just not really something that we can really support and say. It's mostly stretching. It's taking hard evidence that we have that would support it otherwise and just kind of like trying to push our own theory in its face. And I don't think we should try to do that as theorists. We should try to find the most logical conclusion. But, you know, far-fetched theories are definitely kind of fun. Moving on to the decline timeline Zoras. Yasitaru says, A Link to the Past is decline timeline. Since Daban the 16th is missing inside the adult portion of Ocarina of Time, presumed dead, King Zora of A Link to the Past must be different. And that's very strong theory. I don't think there's many people who could try to argue that, because their appearance is very different, their placement in the world is very different. King Zora could barely move in Ocarina of Time. Do you think he somehow went from Zora's domain into like hiding in a waterfall? It's very unlikely. In addition, Luke the Spoo also says, Oracle of Ages King Zora probably isn't Ocarina of Time King Zora, because Oracle of Ages is in a different land. And that's another huge part of it, and that's how that one breaks down very easily. Labrina is a very different land than Hyrule, and so it's very unlikely that they're the same. Anyways, moving on, we also wanted to talk about pre-Ocarina of Time Zora, because like I stated at the beginning of the show, inside Ocarina of Time, that's where we first see the Zora people. But where are they before then? And Captain Trina says, well, they must exist, even if we don't see them. Because Zora Daban the 16th? That means that there obviously has to be more than one Zora. There has to be at least 15 other kings before then, all probably living the lifespan of, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 years in general. I mean, that's just ballparking, total throwing out numbers. But, you know, that means that they must exist for years and years in the past. And who said they all had to be named King Zora Daban? You know, they could be King Zora Frank. I don't know. Whatever you want. The 20th. Who cares? King Zora Frank the 20th. It's canon in my eyes. No. But anyways, to go back into some more theories about where they have been or how they came to be, White Yoshi says, perhaps the squid-like creatures, which are known as Parella, it's Parella. I'm going to say Parella, but because I like the double Ly sound. It makes me very happy. Parella. I don't know. Perhaps that they are ancestors of the Zora, and those are from Skyward Sword. And K-Bud brings in a quote from Hyrule Storia. We originally planned to have a race that closely resembled the Zora, but we were told to design a more primitive race, and the idea was rejected, proving that Parella are more primitive race than Zoras. So that is kind of saying, all right, that Zoras weren't supposed to be in this game yet. They wanted to put Zoras inside Skyward Sword, but they were told as artists that that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a primitive race because they wanted it to be before Zoras, more probably. And Cocoa Man comes in with a theory of his own, saying, could the water dragon from Skyward Sword be the so-called creator of the Zora? I don't have a Hyrule Storia, so I'm not sure if this has been disproved. And no, that's never been disproved. That the water dragon, Lanayru, she could very well be the creator No, not Linearu. Holy gosh, she's Farron, MC Gamer. You are a disgrace to this academy, everybody. I'm gonna rate myself a bad grade. I'm going from an A+ to A minus. There we go. It has been changed on my record. I hope I have to redeem myself later on. Farron said that, hey, maybe Farron is the one who made them. Whatever. That's very possible. Maybe Farron did make the Zoras. However, Yasutaro brings in some more knowledge coming in from Majora's Mask. Here's a thought. Looking at Majora's Mask again, could the Perea and Hylian Zora share a similar relationship as the Terminian Zora and the Golden Seahorses? So as you know in Majora's Mask, the Zora there have a strong connection to the Golden Seahorses in that game. And it could be very similar to how the Hylian Zoras perhaps had a lot of care and time for the Perea, the Perea, I don't know how you say it. Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, they look like seahorses, so, I mean, it makes more sense than them evolving into the Zoras, that perhaps they just came into being, perhaps from Farron. It's a strong theory. There's nothing that really disproves it. I mean, and I don't really have anything to add to it. I just think that's very good. Very, very astute observations from you, Yasutaro, as well as everyone inside the chat tonight. Anyways, we're going to get into listening to some more music, and I have a few more words before we close out tonight's show. But thank you all for tuning in to the show tonight, and keep it locked. We'll be back in just a few minutes. And welcome back to Hyrule Academy, everybody. Tonight's show has definitely been one to remember. We've been talking all about the fishy important people known as Zora royalty, and we had a lot of fun doing so. A lot of great theories were shared tonight, and we're talking still in the chat about all sorts of crazy things, and Zora's fountain, and King Lord Jabu eating all the Zora people, and things that are really fun. A lot of weird things are happening tonight. I love it. I love just talking about Zelda. Zelda's a wonderful series. It's absolutely truly my favorite video game series in my heart. It's probably my favorite. I don't know how to say this. Like, I don't want to say it's my favorite thing. You know, that doesn't sound too poetic, but you know what I mean. Anyways, that song you just listened to, that was Waltz for Zora by Eric Kristofferson, and I'm sorry if I screw this up. I'm gonna try it. NES Kvartetten, which is Swedish for NES Quartet. So thank you very much for that remix. A wonderful little song, and I thought it was nice to kind of finish up our Zora discussion with a little bit of Waltz. You know, just a nice, light, gentle song. It's apparently a Waltz for Zora, so hey, why not? You know, I see no reason not to. You know how I'd be. All right. So now let's try to wrap things up, my friends. First of all, we had some opinions shared today that we were able to come to some conclusions, I would say. Overall, we had some conclusions. First of all, we talked a lot about the Zora's age. Like, how long do these Zoras live, especially the royal line? And while it's likely a normal, like, lifespan, there's nothing really strictly inside the canon disproving it. There's stuff that supports that it being normal, but there's nothing that says, no, definitely not normal. There's nothing really that says it, like, outright. In addition, we know that there is pre-Zora royalty, or pre-Ocarina of Time Zora royalty, because we didn't see them before then, but we know that there's at least 15 other King Zora Debans out there. And we also thought that perhaps they might be friends of the seahorses that we see in Skyward Sword, the Pereira, or Perela, I don't know how to say that, whatever. And perhaps if they were spawns that came from Farron, but we'll have to discuss the Zora existence, maybe on another show in the future. And we also are pretty firmly, this is probably the most firm thing we've discovered tonight, is that A Link to the Past and Oracle of Ages, King Zoras, are probably most definitely not the same. Like, it's a theory that we can't outright prove, but it's one we can't try to like, you know, say it definitely is the same one. It's a hard thing to do. I'm getting inside the chat. What if Daybon has 15 other siblings, all named Daybon? Well, they can't all be King Zora Daybon, the 16th. They would just be Zora Daybon, the 16th. Oh, anyway, let's move on from that. I don't want to talk about how there's 15 other King Zoras all hidden away in Hyrule that we never saw. That sounds interesting, though. Thank you all for watching tonight, and a reminder to tune in next week, Friday at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have a wonderful discussion set up for next week. We're going to be discussing the power to repel evil that's found within the Master Sword. It's going to be a wonderful discussion. Lots of discussions I'm sure we're going to have about sacred power. And sacred power is one of my favorite concepts inside the entire Zelda universe. So I'm really excited to talk about that. If you enjoyed tonight's show... Oh, I said watching. Did I say watching? I said watching. I always say watching. I make videos for a living. Just cut me some slack. Thank you for listening. And if you want to donate at radiohyrule.com/donate to the wonderful station Radio Hyrule. They put on a lot of great programming here on the network. The station. See, you got me all flustered because I said watching, not listening. I can't say anything. Email me at mc@supermcgamer.com if you have any requests or specifically requests. I'll take music requests, discussion requests, whatever you want to hear. And lastly, a few updates. First of all, as I discussed last week, I am now doing my Oracle Seasons Let's Play over on my YouTube channel, Super MC Gamer, every single day of the week. And that's going to go until it's done, and then we're going to start Oracle of Ages, and we'll get to see the King Zora himself. So if you want to go check that out. In addition, I have some very important announcements coming up very soon relating to Zeldathon Winter. So keep your eyes peeled on my YouTube channel and Twitter page. That's at SuperMCGamer in case you are unfamiliar. And lastly, I just want to say thank you all for listening tonight. Thank you all for listening tonight. It's been a wonderful show, and I know we're ending a little bit early, but that's okay. We don't want to try to stretch the show out with anything unnecessary. Let's just finish it on a good note with a little bit of rap. Am I right? Who wants to listen to some rap? Coming up on Radio Hyrule is Wisdom, Courage, Power by Metaphys. Thanks for tuning in to Hyrule Academy, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.